let's get on to the tools and the whole reason why we do a vulnerability scan, the reports. So there are tons of tools out there. Some are host-based, and they will try to find out the operating system, services and apps, versions, patch levels, and configs. Some will do something called depth assessment, where they'll try to fuzz applications. Fuzzing is a method for sending unexpected input to an application to see if you can crash it. So it'll try to look for possible unknown vulnerabilities. And there are, of course, plenty of network-based tools. They'll look for protocols and ports and access control and firewall rules and intrusion detection and intrusion prevention. We can just zoom in. Here's just a picture of using OpenVAS. This is the Greenbone Security Assistant GUI front end for OpenVAS. And you can see the report gives us some summary statistical data. See the results by CVSS here. See word cloud. This is basically the bigger the word here. The more you see of it, the more it showed up. You can see then specific vulnerabilities that were found here, and the different severity levels. We can see that these are 10s, these are 9.3s. So you can see the host that they were against and the location, and also when we created this part of the report. So this is just one example of a tool. No matter what vulnerability assessment tool you use, be it free and open source or paid, it should have these characteristics. It should produce good, reliable outcomes. It should try to test people, process, technology. Now, automated scanners are just going to test technology. You should also try to test people and processes. It should follow an inference-based approach, meaning that one thing leads to another. So it should inventory the protocols, find open ports, identify services behind the ports, check for the vulnerabilities, validate the vulnerabilities as much as it can, try to make it automated, make sure it has a signature database that is regularly updated, make sure that it works against different kinds of networks, different kinds of hosts, make sure that it suggests remedies and workarounds, that it imitates an actual attack from the outside, and then it's super important that it can give you an actionable report, which you can customize what it looks like, that will include trends and include categorizations by severity. Loads of tools. Here are just a few. Qualsys, GFI LandGuard, Nexpose. Nexpose is by the Rapid7 people. OpenVAS, we saw a picture. Nikto, which is for web servers. Retina, used to be called EI for Evil Eye. Now they went mainstream here, like all these others. Nessus, which used to be open source. Now they have a paid version called Tenable. Saint, that's still an open source. There's also a Satan as well. The MBSA, that's the Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer. Core Impact, expensive but excellent tool. NStalker, Acunetics, Secunia, Burp Suite. Burp Suite is really more of a in-browser proxy. Nmap can do some, NS Auditor, Scanline, but loads of tools that you can use. And then when we have a report, we expect the report to have like an executive summary, major findings, the scan information like the tools we use, the scope, the targets and information about the targets, the results we found for every target, all the details that we found for every target, including details about the target itself, its operating system, the date, all the exploit modules or vulnerability modules we used, what were the outcomes, the services and ports, how do we classify this, how do we assess this, and finally sort of a conclusion summary. So we can see sort of an example here. Here's a Nessus scan report, and we can see if we zoom in that we can see that the scan ran at a certain time, and here were the plugins that we used to go after certain things. So these were the modules that we used to go after things. The severity was critical. Here were like the top 5 hosts, and we found critical, high, medium, low, and informational stuff about each of these hosts. So that is just one example. So let's review what we know. Vulnerabilities are weaknesses. But You can have all sorts of weaknesses that can't actually be exploited. You need to validate your vulnerabilities, that's where you, the ethical hacker, comes in, to see how much of a threat they really are. Automated vulnerability scanners only search for signatures that they know. Nonetheless, admins should use vulnerability scanners, automated ones, every month with updated signatures to see if there's anything new on their network. So let's get on to the lab of vulnerability analysis.